Welcome as we move into the third segment of Ibram Kendi's book, How to Be an Antiracist, picking up with chapter 10, entitled White. And as we move into chapter 10, what was very fascinating to me was I never knew before that, I had never heard before the notion that 6,000 years ago, an evil black scientist created a devil race on the island of Patmos through selective breeding that was white people. I'm very familiar from my fundamentalist racist church upbringing that white people have a version, the mirror image version of that, which is that Noah's son Ham did something bad, saw his father when he was naked, and because of that, Ham was cursed, and Ham is the father of the black nations. Now, the Bible doesn't say that, science doesn't support that, but the old Baptist theory I was taught was, this is why black people have so much trouble in the world. It goes all the way back to Ham and what he did with Noah, which of course makes no sense. Right. But then to read that that within the black community, there's sort of a mirror image myth about how white people came about that is similar in spirit, was just fascinating to me.
It is fascinating.
Have you heard much about this before in your experience, and what do you make of it?
I learned a lot from this chapter. I'm familiar with the term blue-eyed devil, which is kind of something that's passed around. I did know that it had its origins in the Nation of Islam faith, but I did not know this particular story. The thing that's fascinating to me is that it's so believable. Like the characterization of white people as blue-eyed devils, it's easy to swallow, because if you look at the history of white people against black people in the world, or in this country specifically, you can easily say, well, that must be true. There must be this idea of always power seeking, keeping other people down to get myself forward. We've seen that actually play out. So this story would be believable, but it really speaks, and I think that we're going there, it really speaks to racism from all people. To even believe an idea that an entire race of people can all be racist and evil and wanting to destroy the world is a racist idea in and of itself. So it just kind of demonstrates a point that we can all believe these things if they're fed to us and we think there's some sort of historical or biblical backing to it, right? So I was fascinated to read that this story was so in-depth, and that it was just the mirror image of stories that people have told about black people. So,
And so in this chapter and the next, he talks about how Ibram believes that black people too can be racist. I have often heard people say that black people can't be racist because if you don't have power in a culture, you can't enforce consequences to your negative ideas about. So if a black person thinks all white people are bad, the black person, and if enough black people believe that, still that's not enough people compared to the overall population to impose systemic harm on white people. But I can see how any individual can hold racist beliefs against another group of people. Does it make sense to you to say that black people too can be racist?
It has not made sense to me in the past. I did share with my Bible study group that black people could not be racist because we don't have that power to be racist. But the way that Dr. Kendi lays this out is to suggest that whole defense is a powerless defense. Black people do not have power. so we are powerless. But that's not actually true, right? Because we have had a black president of the United States. There are black people, Judge Thomas on the Supreme Court, black mayors, black governors, black senators. There is power. So that idea that black people cannot be racist because we don't have power, it almost feeds into a racist idea about black people. And in fact, it was an answer to affirmative action programs from the 60s, right? We're going to hire black people. This was considered to be anti-white policy. It was supposed to be affirmative action, but white people considered it to be anti-white. And the response was, we can't be racist. We don't hire people. We don't decide who gets to live where. We don't make the laws. So then this response was, we don't have power. Not actually true. And it kind of feeds into a racist idea about white people. So in answer to, that was my long answer to your question, yes, I've had a change of thought in reading this book. And I really honestly have to admit that when we were reading a book called How to Be Anti-Racist, I thought we were just talking about white people, how you can be anti-racist. But in reading the book, I'm learning about my own ideas that I have. I think we have to recognize that and we have to own it. If I expect you to be anti-racist, I have to be anti-racist too. And we struggle with that because of the history in this country towards black people. But facts are facts and truth is truth. And so this has been an eye-opening experience for me as well.
So, as we move into chapters 10 and 11, let's talk.